You look so pale today. I don't know what.
I want you to talk about her childhood.
What am I, a paid therapist? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Robin,
Oh,
I want to see this. Hold on, I need to see this scarf.
Hermes.
I love that look.
You're
I don't want to touch your work.
Oh, I love this. Hold on. Well, I didn't realize.
Name a color, I got it.
You look really good.
First of all, you look fabulous. I
Hello.
know your hair is.
How much money went into just doing this for this fucking podcast?
Yeah.
What is? I
Yes.
want to hear about it. Walk me through how you got ready.
Well,
I'm gonna need these today.
do I look more gorgeous? It's a whole story unto itself. You would be dead by the time I finish stories, okay? Bangs are an issue. I once cut them. I didn't go out for 3 months. I have an issue, so I keep them super long. Forget it. Sometimes I have a strand of hair, and I think I'm very critical, overly critical.
Of yourself?
Everything. I'll be critical of everything.
I'll tell you this. I heard I was shiny. I was still a little shiny. I was like, Robin's coming on. I got a matte.
Listen, I gotta tell you, I had 3 kids. I noticed which one's tooth was wrong, which one's hair was wrong, which one's eye was wrong.
You're from Brooklyn. Tell us about your childhood.
It's just great. I am from Brooklyn, Flatbush,
Okay.
very lower to middle class. I lived on a block where there were diversity beyond diversity. I mean, people were Catholic, Protestant. We had Jews, Armenians, Italians, Polish. It was just a whole block of everybody. There was the fireman. My father was the cop.
Blue melting pot. Very New York.
Very New York. I lived in an apartment building. We had a 1 bedroom. I slept in the same bed as my parents. My father slept with his head on one end, my mother on the other, and I slept cross with my mother, always with my leg over her. That's why I think I need a pillow and my knees. Well, my knees are big. I once had a plastic surgeon ask me, "How about your knees?" I wasn't even aware of it. I said, "My knees? Now there's something wrong with my knees?"
My God.
And then I noticed, I know what good knees are. Good
What?
knees for women are more bony. I don't have anything part of me is bony. Nothing.
Oh.
You
All
from
right.
Flatbush, you don't have anything bony.
What was it like growing up in Flatbush?
Had a lot of friends. My grandmother and grandfather lived in the building right next to my building. I knew from the very beginning, though, to be afraid of my father. He was very violent.
Was it more like verbal or physical?
Both. I was too young to understand what verbal abuse was, but physical.
Yelling in New York.
It wasn't that. It was like if I lost the ball, I knew this was not going to be good. I might get a beating.
Right.
He didn't like my mother's soup. He just threw the thing out the window.
What do you think made him like that?
Yes, his childhood was very bad. His parents divorced when he was young, and that was a shanda. Because what Jews back then would get divorced? He had a sister. He hated his mother. He wanted to join the Marines, and he was too young. She had to sign a paper for him to get in. She wouldn't sign the paper. He'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, wake her up, sign the paper. He did this for a week. The next week, he went up 2 o'clock in the morning with a skate in his hand. And he said, "If you don't sign the paper, I'm going to bash your head in with this skate."
Oh my God.
So she signed the paper.
Not really funny, but it's the truth.
And then when he went on the bus to go away, he said his father showed up and gave him a broken comb because that's all he had. And his father said, "Try not to get killed." First, I think the Marines lead to a lot of OCD.
Oh.
He had
Why Marine in particular? Just because they're more.
because it's spit shine your shoes, starch iron, and it trickles down. Anyway, my mother got sick when I was 6. She got sick. Nobody could figure it out at first, but she had Hodgkin's disease. Back in those days, nobody knew. And my parents were never divorced, but my father had already left the scene. So my grandmother was taking care of my mother, and it was my grandparents hated my father, and my father hated my grandparent, and it sucked because I knew that. Now my mother dies, and I have to.
How old are you when she passed away?
I was 9.
Oh wow, so you're really young.
Yeah, and she was 35.
How does that change you at 9?
I went with the flow. Nobody said anything. I was in my father's apartment in Manhattan, and my grandmother called. My father answered the phone, and then he said to me, "Your grandmother's on the phone. She wants to talk to you." The only thing in my mind was, oh my God, my grandmother has my father's phone number. She's not supposed to have his phone number. I mean, I was freaking out. There's always a freak out 24/7. So she told me. I said, okay. I hung up the phone.
Told you what?
Your mother died.
So how does she relay that?
Says your mother died.
But at that point, she was already sick, so you maybe.
Yeah, I saw her get sick. But you're 9 years old. You don't know what's really going to happen. And after I get the phone call, I hang up. We're in a studio apartment in Manhattan on 3rd Avenue with this new lady that my father had and her daughter. And nobody's saying anything. I had been playing cards on the bunk bed with my soon-to-be stepsister, and I just kept playing cards. And like 2 minutes into it, I said, hey, Vicky, my mom died. And she said, yeah, I know, they told me. And that was it. And my mother was never spoken about again, ever.
Wow.
Ever. So that was that. My father was married before my mother, then he married my mother, and then he was married 3 times after that.
Oh boy.
Of which the 5th wife was my roommate, who was 17 years old. My father hated my stepmother. Everybody hated each other. And it was sort of reinforced to hate. One day, my father came home and I said, Dee told me she's going to wash my mouth out with soap. So he picked her up and he dangled her over the terrace.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was not good at all.
How did you get away?
I never got away.
Wow.
Until he died, that's when I got away.
When did he die? How old were you?
It was it was 2001.
So you were already married, had kids, all of that.
I went to the Bronx High School of Science. And then my father exposed a big scandal in the Transit Authority. It's in the paper. You can look it up. Him and his friends were going to sue for $6 million. Meanwhile, he got fired. We were on welfare with food stamps. And miraculously, one of the guys, Larry, shows up in the picture again and says, hey, man, I'm living in Tucson selling cars. You should just move to Tucson. And literally in the middle of the night, my father said, we're moving. You can only take a certain amount of things. So I could either take my Barbies and my records, because I had those 45s. We're just leaving. We're leaving the apartment. We're leaving. Now I'm living in Tucson with my father and Larry. It was only a 2-bedroom apartment. I don't know what they were doing. I was 16 at the time. Now my father takes no interest in my school. I went to the Bronx High School of Science. It's a good school. You have to be smart to go there. I'm probably the only person who went to the Bronx High School of Science who never graduated high school and doesn't have a high school diploma. When I was living with him in the Bronx, it was just him and I would wake up, there'd be women cooking in the kitchen. I had plantains going, okay? There was, well, one week we had Hilda Hernandez. She's cooking something. Next, Blanca Valdez. 2 weeks later, I slept on the couch. I gave him the bedroom. As long as I had my little TV, that was the way that was. When he got mad, it was violent. So you didn't want to make him mad. But sometimes he got mad anyway.
Make Robin mad either.
No, but I wasn't violent.
No.
I hit my kids. My father beat the shit out of me. Plain and simple. I mean,
is that happening? Because also it's a different era. I know I got smacked on the tush.
I just want to say how many Jewish men beat the shit out of their daughter with a broom. A lot of Jewish men that went into the Navy, Jewish or not Jewish. I'm in an eyeglass store in Las Vegas and I'm watching him steal. He's stealing. I'm shitting in my pants. Better story is 2 nights in a row. This is back living in the Bronx. We're eating London broil. And I just said to him, London broil again tonight. This is how he got it. He would take it and he would stuff it in his shirt.
Take it from where?
Grocery store. Stuff it in his shirt. He would go and order lox, and then he would go get an Entenmann's cake.
Okay.
He'd open the Entenmann's cake, stick the lox inside there. This is a cop, an ex-cop.
Right.
Who has a father like this? I don't know. I talk to people. I don't bring it up, but people tell me this and that.
He would put the London broil in his shirt, and then he would go to check out.
And the lady says to him, the cashier says to him, she looks at him, she goes, "Sir, you're bleeding?" And he says, "Oh my God, my stitches are opening up." She goes, "Oh, just go, get out, go."
So how does that impact who you are today? Did you know when you were going to go create a family, you're like, this is what I'm not doing?
He was the person who I was not going to be. He bullied me my whole entire life until the day he died.
Why do you think that is? It's obviously about him that it is about you.
It is. See, that's the whole thing. I'm writing a book and I realize I am not an interesting person. I know this. I'm just regular. Okay, maybe a little interesting, but my life was interesting because he was my father.
It shapes who you are, but I feel like that's not the only reason you're interesting.
I don't think you recognize that you're the main character in your own life. He's a big character, but it's your book, not his book.
I know it's my book about things that happened to me only because he was my father. When it came my turn to do things, I married Howard. I happen to have triplets, which is interesting.
That is very interesting.
I think your life is interesting. I don't think people could even fathom a life that you've lived and then pivoted maybe by fate, by luck, by chance.
My vision was I wanted to marry somebody so I could be Robin Smith and I would be able to pay my bills, have a car, have one kid, make a lamb chop. That it was so unstable. All I wanted to do was, I didn't want to be up here and I didn't want to be down here. If I could just glide from here to here, would be fine.
Right.
Don't throw me any curveballs. I had curveballs already.
Right.
My whole life was a fucking curveball.
Right.
I don't want that.
Right.
I mean, when I was living with my father in Arizona, Larry and him, they decide they want to go to Mexico. Let's go to Mexico. Okay, that's fine. You're right near Mexico. They take me. I'm 16 years old. Nobody needs to babysit me. Well, we're ending up in a whorehouse.
Oh my God.
What the fuck are we doing? And I'm standing there. I don't know where they went. I'm standing at the bar. I'm smoking a cigarette because I'm smoking at 16 already.
That's a
and
lot.
then people say, "Oh, your parents, don't blame them. They did their best." That's bullshit. Because my father was smart. He wasn't stupid and he wasn't a simpleton. Okay, that was not doing his best. So a lot of people ask me, "But your grandparents wanted to take you, but your father wanted you." He wanted me for him. He was a narcissist.
Like, here's the thing, growing up and I don't know what year this was, but was your option at that point, I got to get married in order to like change my circumstance?
Whatever this ride is, I'm going on the other ride over there. Whatever ride that is, my hand is up.
One off this ride.
One off. Who wants me? I'm ready. I worked when I was 14, 15.
What were you doing? What kind of job?
I worked at the dry cleaners. Mm-hmm. I worked at McDonald's. Mm-hmm. Then I worked at a calling place where they had the egg crates.
Like a call center?
I mean, I had to have a job. Okay. Listen, he never wanted to work. So he found women that would take care of him.
So then when did you land in Vegas?
So after Arizona, Gail, my father, and I moved to Vegas in a 1-bedroom apartment where they're in the bedroom and I'm on the couch again. And I was working at a 579 store or Foxmore Casuals, like that. Was that in Vegas? Yeah, I was in Vegas, Dumont Boulevard. And then we moved to Las Palmas, which was a studio apartment. No room for me. Sleep on the floor. Okay, you open the closet. That's where my head was. He didn't want to take. He really didn't want to take care of me. Done. 17. Done. You're done. I mean, what do I do? And I remember saying to him, "Would it be okay if I worked at the bell desk at the Aladdin or the hotel?" The bell desk is where hookers come through, or they used to. And he said to me, you do what you have to do. And I got stabbed right at that second when he said that to me. And then I was like, no, I know he doesn't mean it. That means you do whatever you have to do. If you got to go be a whore, a prostitute, you go and do it. You do whatever you have to do. I'm done with you. I don't want to take care of you anymore. I don't want you to be my responsibility anymore.
After you hear that from him, does that give you motivation to just leave?
That was a really quick stab, and I immediately told myself, he doesn't really mean that. He wouldn't mean that. Anywhere I went, he went. Anything I earned, he took. It was awful. When I got married and Howard said to me after 6 months, we're going to move to Miami because I'm going to go into business with my father. The first thing I thought about, of course, was, what am I going to do with my hair? It's so humid. But then I thought, that's what I thought.
Valid concern.
I thought, oh my God, I'm getting away from my father. This is amazing. This is great.
Right.
But even when I was away from him, he would call me. And there's no emails, no anything. I need new clothes. He needs new clothes. I'm making nothing. Howard's making nothing. Nobody's making any money. How am I going to get money to him? I don't even know how I did it, but I would put money in an envelope and send it to him. I had a conversation with somebody, and he was your father. Don't tell me what my father did to you. Could you imagine whatever he did to you? Could you imagine what he did to me? I don't give a fuck. I had an awful childhood too. You don't see me doing that shit.
Right. All of your sons talk to you. I mean, I know that sounds crazy.
Everybody tells me that. They go, do you call your kids? No, I don't call them. They call me 3 times a day.
But that's a testament to you changing it around and building a home.
It's a major thing. I pat myself on the back if I talk about it. I changed the whole cycle. Listen, the thing is, my father was the only person who could make me really laugh. I mean, in a way, we looked like we were best friends.
Right.
But there was never a time where I would go into his apartment. I would think, listen, if he pissed me off, we might just take that 38 and just, blow my head off. I was always afraid of him.
Make
always.
sure it's not for children today.
Yeah, but no, it's a real thing.
He hated my husband and my husband hated him. And they both hated each other for the right reason. My husband knew that my father was a taker. And my father knew that my husband...
Careful.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, it's way worse, but
I love you, Dad, so much.
I want to talk about men in general, because to me, like, this male presence in your life was kind of not great, obviously. How do you or did you ever see men in a different way? Even when you're getting married, that's a hard thing to shift when you've got this like male presence in your life that's constantly.
Well, I mean, I never thought about it. I got married when I was 22. I'm sure if I had been with a guy and he was physical with me, I would walk away. There's no way. There's no way. My father's brain was very open to the arts, also open to decorating and fashion and stuff like that. So when Craig went to him and said, I heard the most amazing thing ever. My father said, what did you hear? I heard Michael Bolton sing Pagliacci on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And he was about 10. And my father said to him, Michael Bolton Pagliacci, you want to hear something good. When you get to New York, you go look up Enrico Caruso.
Grandpa Bert played a very big role in my life.
They tell me, they go, we were baptized. Really? Where was I when that happened? Yeah, Grandpa had dunked us in the pool. Because he became a born-again Christian.
I grew up with him in my life, and he loved taxidermy, and I would go see him on the weekends. We would hang out and watch the zebra cross the Nile River and get eaten by crocodiles. I'm an exotic handbag designer by day, and I think that played a huge role. I also have always been fascinated by religious iconography. He told us you got to say the Lord's Prayer every night. I mean, he was kind of psychotic and still loving and protective, and if something happened to me, he came out rushing in his boxers with a baseball bat, about to bash Lindsay Kirshner. My mom had to get on the phone and call
Lindsay's father and say, listen, Rick, this isn't like a social call, but Lindsay came around the block bothering Jason. And I said, he's chasing her with a bat and he's been in prison for lesser things. So if I were you, I would tell her not to come on the block anymore.
But now we're best friends and talk multiple times a week.
Oh, okay.
So it's a story.
There's another time where they did almost call the cops on me, which I'm not saying I'm proud of, but back then when I got angry, I lost it.
Kind of like Grandpa Bert.
Yes, because he was the person I saw get angry.
Oh, how did you end up meeting Howard?
This is a good story. I end up in Vegas and sometimes I'm sleeping in Gail's car. Sometimes I don't know where I'm sleeping. Anyway, I started working at the Aladdin Hotel midnight to 8. I made $3 an hour. And I would sleep on the chaise lounge by the pool, or I would go into the laundry room because I know Vegas is a 24-hour town. People are doing laundry at all times of the hour. It was air conditioned. If I happened to have fallen asleep, it would not look weird. You'd be like, oh, she's doing her laundry. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing my laundry. I had nowhere to sleep.
Right.
Anyway, I'm at the pool one day with a friend, and there is Howard. I know Howard and his girlfriend lived in the same complex. So you just see people. And there's Howard at the pool standing with 4 other guys, and they're all in tuxedos, and they are smashed. They're smashed. I don't know what they're on, but they're smashed. I'm thinking they're going to fall in the pool. Howard was getting married in the clubhouse of the apartment complex. I say to my friend, I go, would you look at that fucking idiot? What a moron. He doesn't even know what he's doing. And a year after that, I married that moron.
So obviously that marriage didn't last too long.
Barely a year. So Howard worked at the Aladdin Hotel.
Okay.
I have to say it was an excellent crack dealer. Excellent. I worked at the time office in security. I'm in a security uniform. I learned how to use a gun, even though I really can't.
Sorry, Robin, how tall are you that you like, you know,
barely.
pretty hard.
Sometimes I'm 5 feet, but maybe sometimes most of the time I might be 4'11". Mostly what I did is clock people in and out. Security does that. So you're in the garage of the building, and I did well in school mostly because I can memorize things. Give me a word problem, it's going to take me a little while. I memorized everybody's time card number, and I would see them coming in from the garage, and I pull out their time card, and I get them all ready. So they'd come to the window, and they'd go, 2672, and I'd go, it's there already. I knew everybody's time card. And Howard worked there. Now, Howard's a short Jewish guy, okay? And he thought I was cute. I had a roommate at the time who was not cute, but Howard really wasn't my type. So I go, maybe you want to go with my roommate. Like he makes a remark or whatever. And then I figure, you know what? I'll change it up.
So you saw him getting married at the pool, then
He got married, he got divorced. That was it. 1 year.
What happens in Vegas gets on Hustle and Schmear.
That's right. So I figure now I'm having fun with this guy. I'm with him 1979, maybe a little bit of 1978. And we're partying and doing drugs. And I'm living with him a year. I don't even tell my grandmother. We have 2 separate phone lines, one for my grandmother. But eventually she knew. And she said to me, he'll never marry you if you just stay like that. And I actually got the balls to say, I said to him, after living with him for over a year, I said, if you don't marry me, I'm leaving. And he went like this. Okay. And I was like, yep, that's it. What do I got to do? Get the license. I'm running. I'm going to get a license. I got off the ride. I'm going to be on a new ride. Anything is better than the ride I was on. We just had fun. And it was all about having fun.
So your dad and you decide to go to Miami.
His father had been sending us money every month. I physically wrote a letter telling them how much we appreciate all that they do and all that stuff. Does anybody know that? But anyway, so we go to Miami and we live with his parents for 2 weeks before we get this apartment because Howard was going to go work for his father and I was going to get some kind of job. I worked in a couple of offices. Now I really feel like, wow. I have friends and they have like these jobs and I'm thinking they are so fucking stupid. I can't believe they get a job that pays that much. I could have been a justice. I'm just amazed. Here's what I realized. Going to school doesn't make you smart. It does not make you smart. It took me a long time to realize that. I'm hanging out with people who have graduated, who have degrees. They don't know how to pronounce words. They don't know what the fuck they're saying. It's just, I realize that you don't have to go to school to be smart. But anyway.
And I think it's funny that you say that because I think for a while, or at least when we were growing up, That wasn't even a question. You have to finish school. And now I think, and maybe it's because people are finding careers in other ways, but I think it's kind of swinging back. School doesn't get you to success necessarily, although it's a nice foundation. There are other alternate paths.
Absolutely.
All right, so now you find out you're having triplets.
Right. So we're living in Kendalltown and I'm working. I drive an hour to work, an hour back. I'm working for Pension Consultants Inc. As a matter of fact, I start out as a receptionist. I want to answer the phone, look at the mail, and give the mail out. That's all I want to do. I want to take my check and put it in the savings account. I'm making $200 a week. Howard's making $342 and change. Okay. So Howard's father helped us get in townhouse. And it was townhouse had 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. Of course, I'm thinking, I'm living in like a mansion here, you know? Then I wanted to get pregnant. Everything happened just the way I wanted. I
Right.
wanted to be married 3 years, and then I wanted to have 1 kid. Just one. I wanted to have a girl. When I found out I was pregnant, I wrote a letter. You know, people wrote letters then. Wrote a letter to my father. I'm going to have a baby. I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a girl. I'm going to name her Karamia. So I'm working in this office with a bunch of ladies. A couple of weeks after I'm a receptionist, I get called into Mike Winston's office. Mike Winston owns Pension Consultants. And he says to me, I want to ask you a question. Why would somebody who went to the Bronx High School of Science want to be a receptionist? I said, because I don't want any responsibility. And he was like, that's too bad, because now we're putting you in the computer thing. Put computer, I don't know what he's talking about. I know I'm going to lose everything in a computer, but I didn't. Then after that, they put me as an assistant plan consultant in the back. And then after that, I'm learning actuary. So, I know I'm smart. I don't have to get a degree for somebody to tell me you're doing okay. Now I get pregnant. And there's a girl, Suzanne, she was 6 years younger than me. So she's about 19 years old. And I have to go for my first ultrasound. It took me 3 months to get pregnant. I figured it out with the temperature thing. The first couple of times I didn't do it right. The third time, it's always 3. Third time I get it right. Now I'm 3 months pregnant and I'm looking in
Lots of threes, by the way, which
as
is
I'm saying, 3.
Yeah.
When I told my father I'm having triplets, do you know what I heard? You know what 3 is? The Father, the Son, and you give it the whole. Oh my! So I'm going to go for my first ultrasound, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I had been very thin. I weighed like 101 pounds, thinnest I've ever been. And prior to that, for some reason, had been doing sit-ups. Like I'm not a sit-up person. I just started doing sit-ups, like 100 sit-ups. I was in the best shape I had ever been in. I look in the mirror and I go, that's a big stomach. It's just big. I mean, I'm only 3 months pregnant. I'm not thinking anything. It's more like, what am I eating that I'm so big? And I'm looking in the mirror. I'm telling Howard this. He goes, it's just you, you know. Of course, he doesn't come with me to my first ultrasound. Too busy at work, driving the tow motor. So Suzanne says, hey, you want me to go? I go, Suzanne, you going to drive down to Kendall here? I go, because I worked in North Miami. So she comes down for the ultrasound. The room is the size of a closet, really, back then. There's like a gurney or whatever, and there's this big machine, and there's room for maybe 3 people. That's it. That's all you got going. And you're laying there, and the technician's got the wands with the slappy shit she puts on you, that crap. Can't stand it. And she's looking, and then she was, I think I'm going to get the doctor in here. That's it. I got cancer. I know it. She sees it. I got cancer. It's bad. Not good. Getting the doctor already. Jim Esserman comes in, and I see she's doing the thing and showing him on the computer thing. And he looks at me and he puts his hand on my leg and he says, Robin, you're having twins. I have to tell you what I thought immediately, because I only wanted to have 1 kid. And I knew that if I only had 1 kid, people would say, so when are you going to have another one? I thought, okay. So I've heard of twins. Okay, it's kind of odd that I'm having them, A girl from Flatbush Avenue, it doesn't bring up twins to me. You live in the Midwest. Midwest people in my world have twins, okay? Yeah. I went to school with Lynn and Lois Johnson with blonde hair, They were like from Minnesota or something. I don't know. So they're looking around still. The wand is going. The wand is going. Now the two of them do one of these. And I go, it's it, cancer now. They found cancer. Because now the wand is a little high up here. So I go, what's up? He goes, no, nothing. I go, no. Now, there's something up here. I saw that look. When he told me twins, I said, am I having Siamese twins? He goes, Siamese twins? You mean conjoined? And I said to him, this Harvard guy, I don't know what the fuck you call them, but we call them Siamese. He goes, no, let me show you. And he shows me Jason's over here and here's Steve. You see, they're not connected, you know?
Right.
Okay, that's good. But we think we see another. We think you see another what? I really no. I don't know what another what. I meant it. Another what? Well, we think we see another baby. Well, I'm thinking
No.
you think you see another one. You don't. Yeah, you do. Suzanne is profusely sweating now, laughing, holding on to the bed, and she's laughing and she slips and I mean I'm just laying there like everything. You get the phone call, your mother died, you just keep going. You get the thing, you're having triplets, you just keep going. You just keep moving along. One go. So it took a while because they were taking pictures. Even in 1982, you have pictures B and C. And I came back with a portfolio of pictures. You know, people usually come back with one. I got like a book, you know?
It was one after the other after the other.
I come home and Howard's sitting at the dining table and he's sitting there like this. I go, what's the matter? What's the matter? I can see Suzanne's with me. I say to him, is it Mary? Does she want more towels? Because when he divorced Mary, she kept wanting towels. I don't know. I thought she still wanted towels from us. Is it the IRS?
Oh.
He says, I lost my nugget bracelet in the warehouse. I said, well, we're never going to be able to afford another one. I'm sorry. I want to show you. Oh, yeah. He says, you went and got an ultrasound. I go, yeah. Here's baby A. Look, here's baby B. And look, here's baby C. Look at that. Baby A, B, and C. And he's looking and he's thinking the baby's in different positions. That's what he thought. A, B, and C. And he goes like this, twins? And that's when I said, how are you fucking stupid? I go, A, B, and C. He goes, triplets. Oh my God. He goes, call my father. And all I know is his father promised that he would buy baby furniture. No money. He calls his father. He tells his father says to him, are you on those fucking drugs again? Have you taken those Quaaludes? Put your wife on the phone. Get on the phone. I say, no, Ruby, it's triplets. And then I go, are you still buying the furniture? Yeah, no problem. I call my grandmother, who's in a little bit of dementia state. You're making me nervous. She hangs up on me. I like usually you call people, they go, oh my God,
congrats.
I can't did I get that? No, not from anybody. My father, I got the Holy Ghost.
That's sad. I don't like that.
No. If you don't like that,
reinvention.
Here's what I will say. There's a lot more to go, but somehow you went from triplets with no money to rocking the Hermes scarf at the Upper West Side.
On Riverside Boulevard.
On Riverside Boulevard. So it's not a bad journey, is what I'll say to that.
With four Kelly bags.
It's only because of Jason. If it wasn't for Jason, I'd be wearing Dooney and Burke and thinking.
Thanks for joining us on Hustle and Schmear, where the hustle is real.
The Schmear is extra.